So talking about it being a hugely mental game, one thing that I had read an article recently about, which was sledging in cricket. And this article was about how damaging it can be for not only the person sledging, but also for the sledgee, the person who's being sledged. Now, for, again, people that don't understand what sledging is essentially, I almost don't know how to describe it. It's on-field conversations that are designed to put the other player off their game to give yourself an advantage by breaking their thought patterns, whatever it might be. Now, the way in which that's done is a vast array of things. Some people can be borderline personal, which is where they would cross the line. But other than that, the majority of the time I've seen it can be quite comical. Now, the person that was writing this article and the article itself was, I read it and it was all about sort of how toxic it was essentially. And I then text a range of different people who were professional cricketers. And I was like, what's your view on sledging being in the game? Do you think it's a good thing for you? Do you think it's a bad thing for the game? And all of them unanimously came back and said, we don't care. We think it's good. We think it actually tests your resolve, and it's up to you to deal with it to the best of your ability. It's actually almost like a metaphor for life, really. Like, can you deal with people saying nasty things to you? Where do you sit with sledging? Because you've played the game for a lot longer than I did. You played it in an era where I reckon it would have been even rifer, because there wouldn't have been as many stump mics and things like that where things get caught up. Where do you sit with sledging, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, especially from a mental development point of view?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'd say is that I'm always willing to be educated and to learn. Like, if someone can show me a different way, I'm listening. I'm not going to be stuck going, no, this is the way it's always been. This is what I think. Not at all. I'm open. But I agree with what that feedback you got. It's part. What is sledging? Sledging is mental intimidation. That's what it is in cricket. It's essentially. Is that any different in aspect to, I don't know, Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira lining up in a tunnel ready to go, and them staring at each other saying, "I'm ready. Are you ready?" So, is it any different to that? And it's on a cricket field. Definitely, people crossing the line and saying personal things, that should never happen. If it bubbles over in that way, the reality is that the game corrects itself. Umpires will step in, even teammates will go, "Whoa, calm down here. You don't need to go there." But if it involves essentially me saying to you, "Listen, I'm up for this. I'm ready to go. I'm up for this battle, and I'm gonna test to see whether you're up for this battle." What's wrong with that? That's life. It doesn't mean that we're bad people. It doesn't mean that we take that, and like I was saying, that we don't take that energy into back home to our families. It's not. It's just I think there's a primal thing. It's kind of like we're here. We're part of the tribe. We're now fighting, and to see who wins this contest, and we're essentially bringing everything to the table: our skill, our mentality. That might come into what the words we use during the game. And if you're not up for it, I'm probably going to win. And I can't see how that's a bad thing.
I had one of my my first class debut when I went out as night watchman. I'm batting. I think Andrew Strauss at the time, England captain, was there. It's a pretty intimidating arena that I went into. And people as I walked out, they knew I was on debut. I knew I was going to get some things said to me. I was told that I was going to get my fingers broken. My technique was terrible. I looked ridiculous in my kit and whatever it might have been. And you felt tiny. Like I'm 6'3", 6'4". Like I felt tiny when I was out there. But looking back and actually in the moment, I chose to show courage, bravery, and just take it on and drown out that noise and remove that distraction by focusing on what I was trying to do. And I'm prouder than anything for doing that. And it built the character that I was. I think if I'd walked off and complained or put in an appeal or whatever it might have been, it just wouldn't have sat right, and it wouldn't have said enough about me as a character. And funny enough, the people that I reached out to, funny enough, all asked me like who wrote the article. And and the people that were riding this weren't in the game, had never played it at that level. And I think that is the issue, is that most of the people have it's journalists sometimes that will say something about it, and it's like, you can't experience, you have to be on the field experiencing this to understand it. You have to be out there 100%. To experience it.
No, 100%. And I was a wicket keeper, and I wasn't shy in expressing my passion for wanting to win that game. But don't you think that I got that back? You know, like, and when you bat, the hardest thing is it's you and your mate against 11, isn't it? So when as a wicket keeper, if you're a bit chirpy, they are waiting for you to come into bat, and it's like, here we go. I knew that. I did it for 20 years. I knew that I was going to get it back, and if I wasn't, therefore, as a character, going to learn this lesson in life, that if you're going to give it out, you're going to get it back. If you're going to, this moves both ways. And if you're not prepared to do that, not prepared to handle that, then don't do it. Don't, step away. It's not for you. Say less, see how you get on. And I think that's really important in life. That's a kind of, an example of the fact that, life isn't one-way traffic. It's not just about what I want and what I'm going to do, and that I want to take this and I want to take that. There's going to be something that comes back at you. And, I know I'm talking about, I don't even like the word sledging, but that kind of aspect of the game is, you give and take. It's war, and if you're not prepared to stand up, take that responsibility, then don't do it.
Hey, if you've enjoyed that video, then you can click right here to watch the full unedited version of that episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel by clicking the button below. I'll see you soon.